Before Mario was a cultural icon we know today, appearing in everything from kart races to Olympic Games, he was just a simple plumber trying to save a simple princess. I'm Professor Retro, and we're taking a journey back in time to explore the origins of Mario and his first three adventures on the Nintendo Entertainment System. From groundbreaking platforming mechanics to creative experimentation, the first three Mario games laid the foundation for one of the greatest gaming franchises of all time. In 1985, a small plumber with a red cap and a bushy mustache embarked on an adventure that would reshape the video game industry forever. This is the story of Super Mario Bros. A game that wasn't just groundbreaking, it was world-building. The early 1980s were a turbulent time for video games. The industry, which had once been booming, was on the verge of absolute collapse. Oversaturation, poor quality games, and waning consumer confidence had nearly destroyed the market. But in 1985, a tiny little Japanese company named Nintendo took a bold leap of faith with the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. Bundled with the system was a game that would not only save the industry but define it, Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. Was the brainchild of Shinji Miyamoto, a visionary designer who saw video games as a way to tell stories and spark the imagination. Drawing inspiration from fairy tales and the Japanese countryside, Miyamoto and his team at Nintendo EAD crafted a game that combined platforming mechanics with a whimsical narrative. The result was a perfect blend of simplicity and innovation. Super Mario Bros. Introduced players to an unforgettable world of piped enemies and secrets. The game was deceptively simple. Run, jump, and reach the flagpole at the end of each level, but beneath the surface was a meticulously designed game featuring tight controls where Mario's movements were responsive and intuitive, setting a new standard for platformers. Level design, each level served as a tutorial, teaching players new mechanics through experience rather than text, and power-ups. The Super Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Starman empowered players and added a variety to the gameplay. Super Mario Bros. Wasn't just a game you played, it was a game you mastered. The success of Super Mario Bros. Was unlike anything the industry had ever seen. The game sold over 40 million copies worldwide and made Mario a household name. Beyond the numbers, it cemented video games as a cultural phenomenon. Mario appeared in lunchboxes, cartoons, and even in movies. The plumber from the Mushroom Kingdom was now the face of gaming. The Super Mario Bros. Laid the groundwork for what would become one of the most successful franchises in gaming history. It inspired sequels like Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World, which built upon its legacy with new mechanics and larger worlds. Its influence can be seen in nearly every platformer that followed, and it continues to be celebrated by fans and developers alike. Before we dive into the game itself, we need to rewind a bit. After the monumental success of the first Super Mario Bros., Nintendo began working on a sequel, but the vision they delivered to Japan, titled Super Mario Bros. 2 in 1986, was a brutally difficult game that looked almost identical to the original. While Japanese players embraced it, Nintendo of America deemed it way too punishing for us Western audiences. I mean, can you imagine kids in the 80s throwing their controllers in frustration after dying to a poison mushroom? Nintendo decided that West needed something a little bit different. So instead, Nintendo reworked Doki Doki Panic, a quirky Japanese game developed by Shinji Miyamoto. With some clever tweaks, they transformed it into Super Mario Bros. 2 we know and love. The result? A game that is simultaneously familiar and completely unique. Right from the start, Super Mario Bros. 2 set itself apart. For the first time, players could choose between 4 characters: Mario, Luigi, Princess Toadstool, and Toad himself. Each had their own unique abilities. Gone were the traditional Goomba stomping mechanics of the first game. Here, the emphasis was on picking things up and tossing them. Enemies, vegetables, and even your friends was there in the way. The gameplay was fresh, quirky, and honestly, a little weird. But that's what made it so memorable. Oh, and let's not forget the bosses. Birdo, the egg-spitting enigma, was just the start of Mario 2's lineup of bizarre foes. Mouser, Tri-Glide, Fry Guy, all brought personality to the game's dreamlike world. Speaking of the dream world, Super Mario Bros. 2 wasn't just mechanically different. Visually, it was a departure from the mushroom-filled hills of the original Subcon. The world of dreams was a kaleidoscope of creativity, desert pyramids, icy caverns, and ladders leading to nowhere. Sure, why not? The game's surreal aesthetic extended to its mechanics. Potions created temporary doors to hidden areas, and those doors? They also led to bonus coins and warp zones, rewarding curious players for exploring. At launch, Super Mario Bros. 2 was a commercial success, selling over 7 million copies worldwide, but its legacy is about more than sales numbers. Many elements introduced in Mario 2 became staples for the franchise. Shy Guy, Bob-ombs, and Birdos all made their way into future games, blending seamlessly into the Mario universe. And who could forget the twist ending? It was all a dream. Sure, that might feel like a cop-out today, but back then it was a charming nod to the game's origins. It's 1988, and in Japan, the gaming world is about to be turned upside down. Once again, Shinji Miyamoto and his team at Nintendo unleash what would become one of the most influential and beloved games of all time, Super Mario Bros. 3. For many of us, this wasn't just a game, it was the game, a masterpiece that pushed the boundaries of what the NES was capable of, and cemented Mario as the king of platformers. After the massive success of Super Mario Bros. And its more polarizing sequel, Super Mario Bros. 2 or Doki Doki Panic, depending on who you ask, Nintendo knew they needed to deliver something extraordinary for Mario's next adventure. Development began in 1986 with Miyamoto aiming to create a game that was bigger, bolder, and more imaginative than anything that came before it. And then there was the marketing. If you grew up in the late 80s or early 90s, you probably remember seeing Super Mario Bros. Featured in a little movie called The Wizard in 1989. That was basically a 90-minute commercial for the game, by the way. By the time it finally launched in North America in 1990, the hype was through the roof. From the start, Super Mario Bros. 3 felt like a revelation, gone with the linear structure of the first game, replaced by an interactive world map that gave players a sense of choice and exploration. Each of the game's 8 worlds had its own unique theme, from the grassy plains of Grassland to the fiery depths of Darkland. And let's talk about its power-ups. The Super Leaf gave Mario the ability to fly with the iconic raccoon suit. The Frog Suit made underwater levels a breeze, and who could forget the Hammer Suit, turning Mario into a hammer-throwing powerhouse. These power-ups weren't just gimmicks, they were game-changers, opening up new ways to approach levels and discover secrets. Super Mario Bros. 3 also introduced the Koopalings, Bowser's mischievous little children, who served as memorable bosses in each world, with unique designs and attack patterns. They added a level of personality to the game that players hadn't seen before. Technically speaking, Super Mario Bros. 3 was a marvel. Utilizing custom chips and the game cartridge, Nintendo pushed the NES hardware to its absolute limits. The graphics were more detailed, the animations were smoother, and the levels felt more alive than ever before. And then there was the airship dynamics, scrolling levels that felt like nothing else on the NES. They were challenging, atmospheric, and downright epic, with the unforgettable music driving home the tension. Super Mario Bros. 3 wasn't just a game, it was a cultural phenomenon. It sold over 17 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling games of its era. Mario's raccoon suit became an icon, spawning toys, cereal, and even cartoons. Even today, the game continues to inspire. It's a staple of speedrunning competitions, a favorite for modders, and a touchstone for countless platformers that followed. And that's the legacy of the first 3 Mario games, a trilogy that not only defined the NES era but also set the gold standard for platformers. From the groundbreaking simplicity of Mario Bros. To the quirky, creative Super Mario Bros. 2 and the sheer brilliance that is Super Mario Bros. 3, these games showcase how innovation, charm, and attention to detail can create an experience that stands the test of time. So, Whether you grew up with these classics or discovered them years later, they remain a testament to Nintendo's magic and Mario's enduring appeal. So the next time you pick up a controller and hear that iconic "It's me, Mario," remember where it all began. Thanks for joining me on this trip down memory lane. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your favorite Mario memories down below. And always keep playing, keep the retro spirit alive. Until next time, stay awesome.